So today we're going to be working with Animation Desk, one of the free applications available to us on our self-service here in Manor. We use this program for sequential animation and drawing, and this is what we'll be using on our iPads. So once we open this up, we're going to choose the yellow plus here to start a brand new cartoon. We're going to click the yellow banner that says New Sequence. We're going to name this one Zuli Bounce, because this is going to be our first animation using our character Zuli. Alright, and we're going to make sure that our background is set to a white color. We're not going to maintain the blue that's in there right now. And we're going to count our frames down to 12. We're going to be using 12 frames per second, and it's going to be a total of 12 frames, so that makes it a 1-second cartoon. First thing we're going to do here's the interface for Animation Desk. It actually looks like an animator's desk. We're going to move down to our layer that says background. Here are all of our layers on the right hand side. We're going to go over here to the background, and we're going to choose the ruler. This way we have a guide to follow while we're creating our bouncing ball. I'm going to grab the circle here and turn it 90 degrees, adjust it just to the right, and I'm going to trace my ruler. But before I do, it looks like I got a little mark over here. Let's go ahead and change this back to black, and let's get our ruler back up. Again, I'm going to rotate this at a 90-degree angle, but before I do, that mark is still there. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. Okay. Now, we can actually start this up. We're going to grab our ruler. We're going to turn this 90 degrees. I'm going to adjust it a little bit to the right here, and I'm going to trace it with that black pencil. Boom. Alright, I'm going to hit the red X to close it. Now I've got a guide for Zuli the ball to follow. I'm going to switch over to layer 1 on the right hand side here, and I'm going to switch my color of my brush to a light blue, kind of a sketch blue. One of the reasons why we call Zuli Zuli, because that's a play on his color, azul. Alright, so we're going to start at the very top of our guide, and we're going to make ourselves a nice clear circle. This is going to be Zuli the rubber ball. Alright, and then we're going to switch over to the next frame, and we're going to change Zuli's position by just a little bit. This is Zuli at the top of the bounce, right? So we're just going to adjust Zuli and move Zuli down just a little bit. So we'll notice that the top of Zuli's curve and the bottom of Zuli's curve are just below where we can see it in the previous frame. You'll notice that as we move ahead into the next frame at the bottom there, we can see the previous frame a little lighter than our current frame. That's called onion skinning. That allows us to see where our character was in the last frame. This way we can keep it consistent. And we have that much further to go. So let's zoom back in here. We're going to go ahead and start Zuli moving a little bit faster. So here, the gap between where he was and where he is now is going to be a little bit wider, and we're going to stretch him out, kind of morph him a little bit. This is the first principle of animation called squash and stretch. This allows us to make it feel like Zuli really is made out of rubber. And in our next frame, frame 5, we're going to stretch him out even further, and while we're doing that, we're going to increase the space between here and his last frame. And in the next frame, we're going to stretch him out even more so. And notice as he's getting thinner, he's getting longer. That's to actually give him the feeling that he has some mass to him. Alright? And as we move down here, we increase that space. We're almost to the bottom, and we're not going to have enough room to make another stretch. So here's where he's going to squash. As he hits the ground, or the bottom of his line here, we notice that because he's made out of rubber, is going to flatten out. And that means that he's going to get short, and very wide. Boom, just like that. Next frame, we're going to start his bounce back up where we left off on his squash. So now he's going to stretch from the point where he's touching the ground. We're going to give him a nice long stretch here, and then we're going to go to the next frame. And because he's still got a lot of that recoil left in his rubber, we're going to make sure that he's got a good gap between... Oop, I have to plug this in. We got a good gap between his current frame and the last frame, so that we're going to get over here to frame number 10, and he's going to start to morph back or mutate, where he's going to change back into his original shape. So he's still going to have a little bit of a stretch to him here, but his sides are going to come back out a bit more. And we're going to go into frame 11 here. He's starting to get his original shape back. Nice round ball. Right? And then once we get his shape back, by frame 12, he's back at the very top of his bounce, so that every time this animated sequence loops, it'll just look like he's bouncing again and again and again. Let's play it through. Let's see how it looks. Oh, we're still zoomed in. Let's zoom out. There we go. And let's take a look. Yep. Looks like he's a bouncing rubber ball. Alright, now we can actually go to well, we got a mark there. Let's get back over to that mark. That's what we want to avoid. Any of those little extra marks that are on a frame, clean those up. We want Zuli to be the star of the show, not the extra marks right now. There he is. So we don't need that guide anymore. It has served its purpose. It helped keep him on a straight bounce. So we can go over to that background layer, and we can hit it again. You got to hit it twice, and we're going to hit that little eyeball to turn it off so that it hides that layer. Now when we export this animated sequence, we'll just have Zuli bouncing by himself. So we're going to hit this little play button in the top right hand corner. This takes us to our export, and you know, instead of making a video, I think maybe an animated GIF would work just fine. So let's go ahead and close back out. I'm going to go back over here, and we're going to choose the GIF option. Alright, and here it does its little work, and boom, exports it successfully. So here we know that Zuli's exported to the camera roll on the iPad, and from there it can be uploaded, or we can actually choose to upload it straight to our drive just by clicking that more option at the bottom there. And do you want to save this Zuli bounce to your drive? We say yes, and there it is. It's actually up there in our drive now. We just have to search for it and make sure that it is accessible for turn-in. Alright, so thank you very much, folks. Appreciate you being here to watch this, and I hope that helps you out with the export of your animated GIF.